All right, man. So comfortability is something that you said within the last part of the interview. So let's talk about comfortability. Bill Duke was just giving an interview on another platform where he said people give up their happiness for contentment, which means some people would rather be comfortable than to be happy. Mm-hmm. In today's society, being comfortable is more of a death than it is a life for people to live in. What comforts have you had to kill to give back and to make sure that your students or even people who watch you are actually learning and gauging their lives off of you?
Continuous learning, that there's never one set way, and so that over time, that just doing the same routine over and over and over again, that it gets you, like you said, we go back to that particular box, and now it's hard to come out of that particular box, right? I'll revert this back to my brother, right? He was an individual where he wasn't comfortable, working this one particular job, and so now he's a business owner, entrepreneur. But he said that over time, he said that this wasn't me. I didn't want to be in this box. There were so many multiple ways that I can do some things on my own and help grow myself as an individual on my own. And so I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to do those things on my own. But I teach my kids all the time that never become comfortable. Never become comfortable. And the reason why is at any second your life can change.
True.
From the time you wake up, whether you get up 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, if you walk out that door, from those particular times that you come back in the evening, there can be death, there can be a car accident, someone can be shot or killed, someone could be diagnosed with some type of disease, there can be a fire, all multiple things go on. And so you have to be able to set yourself up long term just in case anything happens, and whether that's with a job or no job, but to put yourself in a situation that you can continue on with life.
See, but that's the thing that bothers me, especially when it comes to our young men, is that true education for many of us happens outside of the classroom.
Absolutely.
But the classroom is supposed to prepare you for life. In the inner city especially, our classrooms are not geared towards life. Principally. It's geared towards economical dependency and the mundane. How do you beat that when trying to give the lesson? First of all, let's go back a little bit, because I want to actually say that same question.
Okay.
Once again, what age range do you work with?
Ages 13 to 18.
So you have the at-risk more.
Absolutely. Because
then that time, they're in a stage of life where they know they exist, the world is big, now they question themselves and how they fit into the world.
Absolutely.
So how do you break that economic dependency being taught to teach them that the lessons in life are bigger than the classroom?
One thing I will say is that I love being a health teacher because it doesn't keep me in one particular box. It allows me to talk about or discuss many different things with our students. And so, we had a tremendous, I teach 11th graders right now, and we talked about this thing called A.C.E.S. Adverse childhood expectancies. And what they say is that within the inner city, you will have one or more throughout your lifetime. And this, we're talking about traumatic experience.
PTSD related?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, what could that consist of? Maybe someone in your family being locked up or incarcerated, someone dealing with drugs, divorce, and so any of those things that you might have. I mean, when we looked at the list, majority of the kids in our classroom had at least 4. And so when you have at least 4 or more, it puts you at a higher risk. And so what does this say? It's saying that the students in our buildings, or that we're teaching in the inner city, that they're dealing with these things on a daily basis. So what does that say? It doesn't allow them to be children.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow them to enjoy life, which means that parents have to do multiple things, whether they're single parents, single mother, single father. They're out working multiple jobs, and that doesn't allow the children to be children, and the children have to become adults at an earlier age. And so now what happens is that they're put up all this stress on top of them, and they might be taking care of their young brothers and sisters, and so like they bring all this extra energy, they bring it to the school, and so it's hard for them to concentrate and sit down and do these different things because all they want is attention, all they want is to be loved.
Well, Mr. Davis, let me ask you this. Have you ever had the privilege or the opportunity to teach outside of the inner city school?
No.
Okay, that's something I've actually had the opportunity to experience. And it blew my mind. I'm going to tell you why. The things that we teach our children are not even on the radar of people who teach in other areas. For instance, I went to a Jewish school.
Okay.
In the Jewish school, by kindergarten, the children are already reading the newspaper and talking about the Palestinian-Israeli crisis. Our people in the inner city don't have that. People are too busy into what the newest song is, what's on TV, or who plays sports.
Absolutely.
In an affluential school, which is more Caucasian derivative than people of color, their issues dealt more with drug addiction rather than sex and life, period, life skills. I even heard an elder gentleman said, when I was in school, we were taught, Caucasian man, when I was in school, we were taught after the Civil War, slavery was over, and that was it. We had no understanding of what prejudice, Jim Crow was, or what exactly happened in the Industrial Revolution.
Absolutely.
Even people to this day, Caucasians as well, not only our people, don't even know that the Great Depression wasn't an economical struggle. It was the pulling back of funds to actually separate the haves and haves not on the American continent. Our education system fails, in my opinion, on this term. We don't teach the entire story. As a man of color that's in the education industry and business of education, which is two different things.
Absolutely.
How hard is it for you to know that there's more and that you are doing your best you can, given the opportunity you're given, knowing you're still not even being able to give 100% truth to the children that you're over?
Man, it's a fight daily. It's definitely a struggle daily that I deal with personally, and there's multiple other individuals that are around me that deal with the same thing as well too. But it's hard, man. It's hard because you want to do so much more, but like you said, you're in this. We go back to this box, and some things, even myself, things become repetitive. You go over and over again, and some things might change that particular day, or whatever the case may be, but then you always have to revert back to that box. I would say the biggest thing is that what I try to do is, I think we have 800 students in our school at the moment, is know that I can't save all 800, right? But if I could save 25, another 25 can affect another 25, another 25 can affect another 25. And I think that's where we have to look at it. You won't be able to save everybody, but you try to save a certain amount that you can, and those certain amount can go out and to spread the same love and give back the same way as well too.
Yeah, and that's the burden I have, because I teach preschool, so I have them at 3, 4, 5, and the thing is, I tell the parents, I hope it carries over, and you do hope that you can inspire one, because as you know, as the children get older, by the time they're 7, if you don't interact with them on a high level, they're lost.
Yes.
And then when you hit them at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and by the time they're 16, they're usually grown in their own minds.
Absolutely.
So it's like, who cares? And that's the main thing. I remember a song back in the day, we're going to go back to hip-hop with it. It said, Uncle Sam is the master of America. No dogs allowed, I spurn your commander. The president is punk and idiotic. Why pledge allegiance if a nigga ain't patriotic? With the Colin Kaepernick thing that's happened in our society, and now young people with social media, with outlets to know what's going on in our country, when they look at this, what kind of questions do you face as an educator that tries to keep their minds focused on growing and not being too overtaken by the barrage of the stimulus of hatred that's in our society?
You try to get them to look at those particular situations, even though they become comfortable. You try to let them know that they have a platform. There's multiple platforms now where you can express yourself. And you know, whether you choose to protest or whether you choose not to protest, that you have that choice. And so there is no right or wrong. And I think that's what we talked about before, is that people make these things, these rules, and come up with all these things, right? And it goes back to the sense of control, that there's a right and there's a wrong. There's really no right or wrong. It's just how we all feel about it individually. And so just having them understand that with the whole Colin Kaepernick situation, that there is a platform, and if you feel strongly about something, you can use that platform to express yourself.
Has any of them ever used the classroom as the platform? How have you molded them to know that there's a right and a wrong way to stand firm?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? And yes, they have. And then we try to be able to steer it in a positive way so it's not negative, right? And how do you do that? So you sit down, you conversate with them, and then it's like, because you're striding that thin line, because what's right and then what's wrong. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we have them understand, like, how to go about it, where I would say, right, and it's crazy, because it's like, even though you do that, you still go, like, well, what's crazy and what's not crazy? And then you say, well, what's right and then what's wrong, right? But at the same time, you try to talk to them and try to give them where they have multiple different ways to express themselves.